For most of my life, I lived in the expectation that whatever problems and setbacks we were going to face and that we'd have to overcome as a society, we would continue to progress. We would know more in 10 years' time than we did today. We would have solved more problems in 10 years' time than are currently solved today. We would be able to cure more diseases, have smarter solutions to common issues, all of it. No utopias, because they never survive contact with human reality, but progress. Flawed, occasionally blind alleys, but overall progress. Now the Trump administration and the influence it's having on populist movements in various parts of the world presents a new possibility. That we could, with all of our smart technology, with all the artificial intelligence breakthroughs that give the illusion of a great next big step forward, we could actually be at the downfall of the Roman Empire. We could be plunging headlong into the next dark ages. How would that happen? Well, a couple of things. One, we make complex problems stupid and energetically refuse to solve them. Now, we're seeing this with a number of things. We're seeing it, for instance, with climate change. It wasn't enough of a Trump administration to say, you know what, we are not committed to this energy transition thing, so we're going to sit this one out. Get along without us, we're good. No, they had to polarise the issue on stupid lines and turn it into something they actively campaign to bring down. So the US Department of Energy recently produced an opinion piece masquerading as a report written by 5 well-known skeptics rehearsing very old arguments that have long since been debunked or dismissed as red herrings. Not even worth modern debunking, frankly, because all those claims are pre-debunked. It is rhetoric more than it's any kind of alternative case based on evidence streams that would stand up to any sort of scrutiny. Things like more CO2 in the atmosphere is good because it's essential for plants. Well, yeah, CO2 produces extra growth in plants up to a point, but that assumes it doesn't bring with it the actual expected and already realised effects of global warming in addition. In regions where the impacts of global warming are most advanced, we see suppressed or destroyed harvests, not more bountiful ones. It's a bit like telling the people in Texas that water is essential for life, so they should be just fine about all the floods they've just had there. Oh, and maybe try pointing out they also had droughts. So the floods and the droughts, they kind of really balance each other out. I think you'll find that they look at you as if you've lost your mind. And they'd be right, but we're doing it to ourselves. Actual climate scientists slammed this latest report for being a farce and full of misinformation. Many had time to do that because the administration had sacked shed loads of them over recent months. But as we learned this week, that's not enough. Oh no, instead the administration is now reviewing the solidly produced peer-reviewed climate assessment reports of the last 2 decades with a promise that they will be, quote, updating them. US Energy Secretary and former fossil fuel executive Chris Wright said, we're reviewing them and we will come out with updated reports on those and with comments on those reports. We've also seen the US administration lobbying the International Energy Agency to abandon all talk of an energy transition to big up fossil fuels instead, which the IEA resisted because the US is just one of its constituent countries and the rest of the world hasn't yet gone equally mad. But they're working on that as well. The Trump cosplaying amongst populist right parties and movements in Europe and elsewhere, they are taking all of these points as central to their philosophy and campaigns. So in the UK, Reform UK is decidedly anti-net zero, one of the points of faith that give them their identity. And UK campaigns they draw from, such as Toby Young's Daily Skeptic website, follow exactly the same playbook, using disinformation, scientifically illiterate claims to seek to discredit the UK's Met Office, to suggest somehow they're all woke and therefore they somehow make up the thermometer readings that show that the planet is getting warmer. Reform UK are polling well, so it's not beyond the bounds of possibility that they get the exciting opportunity to do a similar demolition job on UK institutions, and presumably the same holds in numerous other countries. This has become possible because being anti-net zero has become an article of faith. If it was rational, you would require more of the most robust research to confirm whether there are flaws in the assumptions of the existing base of knowledge. But no, it's sack the scientists, shut down the means of monitoring some of the evidence streams, and publish alternative narratives without any of those things. The old understandings of a world based on actual evidence dismissed out of hand because they contradict the articles of faith. That's all that's needed. You don't have to win the arguments. You don't need better data. It's just beyond the pale to go there. Which is, I point out, the sort of thinking that we associate with dark ages. We thought we'd finally banish those from human society with the enlightenment. But you can go backwards as well as forwards. In the oldest days, it was called heresy. Today, it's called woke. Then, of course, you have Robert Kennedy Jr. and what he's doing to America's scientific base in the health area. Earlier this week, he cancelled $500 million of funding into research on the mRNA vaccine technology. Again, because the culture war ended up rendering the area of medical treatment politically polarised and stupid during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it has now become an article of faith. In such a situation, there had to be conspiracy theories to explain why they, the powers that be, including the ones that aren't, like the think tank based in Switzerland called the World Economics Forum, why they were secretly using the pandemic to take control of the world. Did the vaccines have Bill Gates's microchips in them, or were they just poisonous? Well, it all depended on who you were listening to, and the fact is that when you're into faith and conspiracy theory, not evidence, you can often entertain mutually incompatible arguments all at the same time. Now, the people who spread a lot of that garbage, some of them at least, have been welcomed into the inner circle of government. And as a result, mRNA technology, which should undergo rigorous safety research, as should all such technology, but which has great promise in being able to treat diseases that were previously untouchable, that is on the wrong side of the faith-based movement that is now in charge. Again, if this was a rational thing, they would commission a bunch more of the highest quality research to triple check those safety questions that they've been circulating alarm about on Twitter. But no, they cancel the research, sack the scientists, consider it to be pariah technology. In a society based on fact, committed to the scientific principle, it should never be the case that you can accurately predict someone's politics based on their preferred medical treatment for COVID-19, and for their belief or otherwise in the existence of human-caused global warming come to that. Not that it's impossible for people to have contrary beliefs on such scientific questions, but when those fall along party lines, then you know it has become an article of faith. And there's no both sidesing this. Conservatives and Republicans used to accept scientific evidence by and large, broad generalization, but apparently no more. You can add to that the Trump administration's determination to discredit financial data, the reality of which doesn't suit its fantasy version of the world. And what you get from all of that is a fundamental rejection of the idea that anything is specifically true, that data and measurement have any role in modern society. You can have advanced tools like the internet and social media. We used to think the internet would turn into a giant library of the collected wisdom of humankind, freely available for everyone to access and to improve themselves with. Well, instead we have stupid little bit-sized snippets where faith-based political actors share photos and videos totally out of context or given context by out-and-out lies in order to provoke outrage and hatred. And that's called free speech. And the idea of standing up for the fact that these things may or may not be true and that that's important, that is dismissed out of hand as being an argument against free speech and for censorship. This is a suite of arguments that is designed to take us to the Dark Ages. All we need is artificial intelligence to finish the job. AI right now is like the internet was back in the 1990s, full of potential to make us smarter and better organised. But we can already see how it will go in a faith-based world. Firstly, it is de-skilling large numbers of people who will no longer get jobs doing what AI can do faster and better. So it's making humans a bit more stupid, a bit less capable of being the pragmatic problem solvers that we have historically been. Secondly, you can currently see faith-based political actors raging against AI bots on social media when it doesn't agree with their anti-scientific articles of faith. I've seen climate deniers. Now, I used to call them climate skeptics on this channel, wouldn't use derogatory language, but that was before they showed that in power their solution was to sack all the scientists and shut down the monitoring. So, I've seen climate deniers raging against Elon Musk's Grok because it entirely correctly gave factual answers to their favourite leading questions. And this was an example of AI being infected with wokeness, they said to Elon Musk. So at some point, the AI, some of them anyway, will probably be required to be trained to be stupid and faith-based in the required areas. And that brings us then to the third. If the progress we have made as a society gets turned expertly against us. I noted recently that a technical glitch with OpenAI and Google briefly made some people's conversations with ChatGPT publicly discoverable. Amongst the chats that were found by the researchers who revealed the flaw was one between an Italian lawyer and ChatGPT, where the lawyer was seeking the best strategy to displace indigenous people unfairly from a section of rainforest where his client wanted to exploit their land. Right there, you have what we should be seeking to avoid. Strategies to advance the cause of stupid, executed with the smartest technology available to humanity. Stupidity amplified, made more powerful, more overwhelming, so that it is so much harder to fight back against it. We've seen this in action after all. Social media posters have learned through experience and with analytics tool what goes viral. They have learned how to use content to do that provoking outrage thing, to recruiting people into becoming part of their community that is paranoid against the world, suspicious of any authority and committed to an alternative identity based on their type of faith. These are sophisticated and powerful techniques designed to make us all a lot more stupid, a lot more manipulable, a lot more judgmental, and wholly disinterested in whether something is actually true or not. We could have all of those things in place, and it could be the abyss that we stare into to wake the heck up and to retrieve our sanity from the moment where we nearly lost it. We've done that before. Sometimes it took wars to shake people out of the stupidity. It would be really good to avoid that in the modern era. And we could well avoid such cathartic moments because, this is the thing to cling to, the hope, there is still a majority of people in the world free from the effects of that sort of stupid polarization. There is still a large community of scientists and educators who are fighting back, way more than we've ever had in human history, still containing a lot of respect from a lot of people, and none of them simply going to go away because it would be less aggravation. But let's be clear, failure is an option. And we could be heading into a new period of dark ages. I mean, not overnight. It's not like just turning off a light, but relentlessly, one step after another, making ourselves deliberately blind to the real world, doing stupid stuff as a result and seeing negative consequences, and then using faith-based reasoning to take those negative consequences that we created and blame them on the thing we rejected in the past so as to redouble our rejection of it. It's a great scenario for a dystopian science fiction novel. I would suggest we should probably pass on the exciting opportunity to make it our daily reality.